Hey everybody, welcome to the
Hi.
Games Tavern Happy Hour. I'm Mac, and tonight we are joined by Anna. There we go. There we go.
Whichever way it is.
Yeah, no, it's the cropping's weird for each one of these, so it's always fun. Yeah, so it should be an interesting one with some fun news coming out this week in RPG and gaming world. So we're gonna try and go over some of that there. But before we get too far down that one, biggest news of the week, I think, is actually going to be the free RPG days coming up this Saturday. So that's in 4 days, 3 days, I don't know, the 25th, whatever that is. So that will be a really fun time. I don't. We were talking a little bit earlier. You're not entirely familiar with what free RPG day is, are you, Anna?
No, still pretty new to the tabletop role-playing game world, so.
All right. Well, for you and for everybody, keeping track at home, free RPG day is actually a really cool thing. It's in the same vein as like free comic book day, but
Hmm.
basically a lot of the local game stores will end up having a it's called free RPG day, where you come in and they'll have a whole bunch of great stuff that you can come to and end up getting free RPG material. It's usually starter modules, very quick, very basic quick play rules.
Hmm.
Some places give away dice. It really does depend on what they have going on in the sets this year. Some of the stuff historically, there's been some fantastic stuff that comes out of Free RPG Day. I don't believe Wizards of the Coast is participating this year with D&D, but
Okay.
I know that they've some of the stuff that they've come out with previously in there has been like some fantastic Pathfinder and Starfinder modules. Yes, Dire Rabbit. Some places are in fact doing free dice. Let's see if I can find the information for it.
But we don't know how nice the free dice are.
They're actually pretty good.
Oh, okay.
If you go to this here Facebook page, the actual Free RPG Day regular page isn't the greatest, unfortunately. It doesn't look
Hmm.
like it's been updated. But the free dice that are coming out with it are made by, I believe, somebody called Gatekeeper Games,
Okay.
and they're also they're extra D20 and I believe an extra D6 that both have the free RPG Day on the 20 and the 6 respectively, the RPG Day logo, and they match up with new dice that they're coming out with at the same time. So if you get those two free dice, you could also buy the matching set and have a party with that. The thing I'm most interested in is actually the Dungeon Crawl Classics from Goodman Games. They usually put some really good stuff in their free RPG boxes.
Aren't
Uh,
those the ones where, like, we all bring four characters to the table and three of them die by the end?
Yeah, usually.
Oh,
But this the module that they're doing for this one's actually a level one. So all of the level zeros that we've done previously actually end up feeding into this. So this would be mission number two. Uh, and
so
it
they might
yeah.
be quite as prone to death as the
You
usual.
still might, but it'll be a little bit better. This one's built for 5 to 8 characters versus the normal ones I run are 15 to 20 characters. So
Okay.
it should be good. But there's also a whole bunch of really great stuff coming out of it historically. I know one of the favorite things people have is playing like some of the weird, wackier races, like the monster races and the goblins. Uh,
Hmm.
it's a Pathfinder module, but it's called We Be Goblins, and this is from almost a decade ago, I think, and it kind of really set the whole stage and did a really great example about what it means to do a low-level monster character campaign. And you have to like
Okay.
run around like steal food from like dogs and like kick over the farmer's cow or something. It was ridiculous nonsense, but it
Sounds
was an
like
absolute
superstitions about the Fae that farmers used to have centuries ago.
yeah that. But just tiny goblins, and I love the Pathfinder goblins. If you've never seen them, they are basically like bear traps on torsos.
Hmm.
It's fantastic art style. So
Okay.
they're doing one of
I've
those.
never seen them. I'll have to look for them.
Yeah, they're. I have a whole bunch of minis for them. I'll try and find them on the break. Yeah,
Okay.
Mr. Smithwick, thanks for joining us. You're absolutely right. That is one of the most fun times I've had playing Pathfinder, probably any RPG. It's wacky good times. It's in the same vein as like Kobolds Ain't My Baby, or any of the weirder kind of odd games that aren't meant to be taken seriously. They also have a Starfinder variant where you're not playing space goblins because that'd be apparently be a bridge too far. But that art is also fantastic. They're the same things but with like Flash Gordon fishbowl heads, and I love it.
Hmm.
But
Okay.
the one for this one is Skittermander based. Skittermanders are a weird like Care Bear plush monster thing that they're just completely out of touch with like a gritty realistic. We're gonna go into a wacky sci or a hardcore sci-fi thing, and they
Well,
look like
then
something off of
sometimes
a
you're not
children's.
looking for hardcore. Sometimes you just want to have some fun.
Yeah, and that's where the free RPG material comes into its own. It's a great time. So if you, like I was saying, if you check out the Facebook page, there's a whole bunch of individual posts talking about who's bringing what. The Starfinder one this year is called Skitter Home. So it's going to be Skittermanders again doing something cute and adorable while safe in the universe, I'm sure. One of the ones that I'm actually excited about, though, is for Pathfinder. It's doing Little Trouble in Big Absalom. So if you're a Jack Burton Little Trouble in Big China fan, or Big Trouble in Little China, I'm hoping that it's going to be a twist on that one. But there's a whole bunch of really fun stuff, and then of course the DCC information.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, check out all of the information that's up there on those boards. If you want to find out if your local game store is participating, the freerpgday.com. You punch in what you're at, what town you're in, and it'll give everybody within a 15, 20-mile radius who's participating. I still recommend calling your local store, of course, to see if they are going to be joining in, just because with everything going on out there, there's a lot of uncertainty. But if you can, I highly doubt anybody's actually going to be running games, unfortunately. But if you can get out of the house for a little bit, go grab some free material, pick up an extra book or two that that you're kind of sitting on. The stores need our help right now. And if we don't support them, they're not going to be there when we can go back to them. So pick up some books, pick up your free RPG Day material, and come back and roll some dice. It should be a good time. Any questions out there in the chat about free RPG Day? If you haven't participated, or if you have any cool stories, let us know. In the meantime, we're going to go ahead and get moving, just so that we don't spend the whole day talking about just a couple things. Now, Anna, have you ever played Pathfinder?
I have not. I was actually wondering what's the premise of Pathfinder.
Pathfinder is not D&D. That's what it is.
Okay.
Yeah,
That tells me something.
Well, no, that's it's in air quotes, not D&D. Basically, a decade or so ago, when fourth edition came out, fourth edition D&D came out. The previous edition was 3.5. It was like a half step up. It wasn't a full transition. It was kind of an edit on 3, and that was a really good system. A lot of people really liked that. Probably one of the more popular ones before 5 dropped, and 5 is completely different.
Edition was very popular. That's not what I recall hearing.
3.5 was 3.5 was very popular, but with the crowds, it was a very nice system. A lot of people really liked that, and a lot of people kind of cut their teeth on there. When they went to 4th edition, a lot of the people who wrote 3.5 decided, hey, we really want to keep working with this good system. And not saying anything bad about 4th edition, that's just what they were saying, is like, we want to keep working with the system we've worked on. So they ran off and made their own game, Pathfinder. It is generic fantasy universe 4. It is exactly what you would expect. The tropes are the same. The races are basically the same. The classes are basically the same. It is D&D. No, it is in its own. It's on a planet called Galarion, I believe, which comes into factor when you get to the Starfinder stuff, which is Pathfinder in space. But it's basically on not the Forgotten Realms, and it's not the Sword Coast, and you go to not Waterdeep. And yes, it's a much crunchier game. You can do a lot more. One of the things people could call it was a math finder, because if you really wanted to, you could map out an entire character from level 1 to level 20, know exactly how much damage and everything you're going to be doing the entire way. A lot of people really like that. So it's a good system. If you haven't played that though, and you're looking for other things to do besides just D&D, I enjoy D&D. It's a good time, but you want to sort of broaden your scope a little bit. There's a fantastic opportunity for that right now, especially if you have, if you are okay with digital books. I recommend checking out the Humble Bundle for Pathfinder 2.0 or version 2 or 2nd edition, whatever they're calling it. Basically, for an absolute steal, I believe the cheapest you can get in and still get stuff is $5, but it goes all the way up to $30 or even spend more. This is a charity thing. Are you familiar with Humble Bundle at all there, Anna?
No, but the basic concept is certainly very fundamental.
Yeah, it's a pay what you want kind of scenario. And they do Humble Bundle books, Humble Bundle video games, Humble Bundle RPG games, everything that you can think of. Especially if things are digitally distributed, it actually makes it a lot easier for them because then there's no physical overhead. This one is Humble Bundle for Pathfinder. So what they have going on here is $5 gets you the core rulebook. It's a digital version. Unlike D&D, the core rulebook is for both players and DMs or GMs,
Oh, okay.
I guess, in that one. And you could, in theory, just have the core rulebook and that'll be it. That's all you need. But
And some practice.
yeah, it's any of the Pathfinder games I ran, we pretty much exclusively did those, and then some of the adventure paths, and those were the two books that we would play with. But there's also you get for $5 you get the core rulebook, a character sheet pack, a whole they call them adventure paths, but it's basically a pre-written adventure, a couple digital maps that if you're playing like Roll20 or any of the virtual tabletops, these will be helpful, and then some novels actually. So that's some fun stuff. And then Pathfinder Society, which is like a like Adventurers League. So you get a couple things there to be able to get you going. That's all for $5. So if you're curious about the game and you have never played and you just want to see where it goes, $5 gets you in. If you go all the way up to $30, and I haven't done the math on this, but $30 will get you a physical book. You do have to pay for shipping, but it also gets you just scrolling through the page here, lots and lots of stuff. It looks like half a dozen more maps, a bunch more books like novels, the bestiary, which I believe is like their monster manual, character guides, more random side quests, and yeah, they're saying it is, what did they say, $360 worth of stuff. If you're interested in dabbling in another system, I've never played second edition. I will be picking this up just so I can see what's up with it. I want to be able to play in any game.
Okay. Yeah, I admit I don't really have much interest in running new games myself. So if somebody offers a chance for me to play in a different type of game, then I figure that's the appropriate time to bone up on the rules for that game.
Oh yeah, and one of the big bonuses here is if you pay the $5, you have a digital copy of the rule book, and then you don't need to hunt it down later. And all the money goes to or profits or something. It's going to the three charities that are highlighted there are the National Urban League, the Carl Brandon Society, and the NAACP Legal Defense Fund. So it does all go. It all is a charitable event, and it does help. And we're saying Mr. Smithwick went for it so much stuff. Yeah. Did you get the hardcover also, or do you just go on purely softbacks or soft covers, or soft books? Wow, soft copies. There we go. Yep. All right. Yeah, that's probably what I'm going to do too, because it's $30. It's less than you spend on your own PHB, and it's maybe I'll use it. If not, it'll look good on my shelf. Only about $8 shipping. Yeah, that sounds about right. It's a great deal. Yeah. So again, that link is in there in the chat, guys. If there's any good Humble Bundles that you guys see in the coming up for the RPG stuff, I'm just starting to dabble in this. Let us know in the Games Tavern Discord channel. We have our own happy hour. What is that? Chat room, log room? I don't know. Channel. Sure, whatever. I don't know the terms, but there's a Games Tavern happy hour show. Feel free to drop it in there. Anything that you guys, news stories or Humble Bundles or even Kickstarters, that kind of stuff that you see, hey, this is really cool, I want people to look at it. Channel? Sure. Yeah, why not, Dire Rabbit? Channel works. Any of that kind of stuff, feel free to let us know on there or shoot it to me. I am, what am I? CMac something or other, I believe. Mac, Adgern, Firebeard. Yeah, I'm all over the place. You can feel free to shoot me a message. And, I blanked her out. There we go. Shoot me a message and we'll be able to, we'll try and get your stuff onto the show. Any questions? I think we pretty much covered Humble Bundle, right? That seems right.
I think you did a solid job.
Yeah. If you have any questions about it, let us know. Otherwise, we'll get moving on. So one of the complaints that we got a few weeks ago when we went into a single Kickstarter that I was really excited about, and this was the Beowulf and Grendel, I think was what it was. It was or the Adventures of Beowulf or something. It's a D&D expansion for a single player and a single DM going through the lores of Beowulf. It was a really great time. I'm really excited about it coming. Unfortunately, it closed out. I found out about it that day, bought into it, and it closed out. Yeah, a couple hours before the show. So I was just bragging about what I bought. So we're trying to get better than that. Trying to let you guys know some of the cool things coming up in Kickstarter now, with enough time for everybody to get into it. So one of the first ones the first one we're gonna look at today. Here we go. This is something I'm actually pretty excited about. I've been looking at it for a little bit, and I think it's going to be pretty cool. I'm a sucker for rules, and specifically more rules, more examples of monsters and scenarios and things I can use as a DM without having to write my own stuff. Now I know a lot of really cool stuff in RPGs is being able to pull in characters or stories from the lore or from the various entertainment we all enjoy. And this piece here, the mythological figures and maleficent monsters, is exactly that. It has rules for they're billing it as 5th edition rules for legendary figures from Achilles to Robin Hood, Thor to Dracula, King Arthur to Baba Yaga. It looks like it's going to be good. It's already got it's got $120,000 in it already. It's a super popular Kickstarter. It's well successful. We still got over a week to get into it, but some of the stuff here is I wanted to excuse me. I wanted to go over just because it's a really cool opportunity.
So what system are these characters meant for? Is it system agnostic, or is it meant for a specific system?
This is meant for 5th edition. One of the fun things about I hope Trogdor's in here. One of the fun things about generally the gaming scene is I don't want to say it's impossible or you're not allowed to, but it is incredibly difficult to copyright rules.
Okay.
So anybody can. It's basically something called the open game license, where it allows, hey, as opposed to trying to run around in the TSR days of early D&D and be like, no, you can't do this. That's for our game. They're basically like, hey, anybody can publish anything they want that is 5th edition compatible,
but it's not official 5th edition unless we bless it.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of this. This is not official 5th edition because it's just a fan thing basically. But because they open game license, they're allowed to do that. Whereas my Into the Borderlands campaign that I'm running, it's made by Goodman Games, but it was a collaborative project between Wizards of the Coast and Goodman Games, so it has the thumbs up stamp of approval. Okay. So there's a weird thing going on there, and I'm confident I've slayed that pretty poorly. But what we need to know as gamers is there's a whole bunch of people out there making content that is not Wizards of the Coast. And so you can buy a whole bunch of great stuff out there. This is, it is for 5th edition, but a competent game master can probably figure out a way to make it work for Pathfinder or for GURPS or for whatever it is your system of flavor is. Because D&D is a pretty good starting point. A lot of places jump off of D&D and they're like D&D but twisted. So there's a lot of stuff out there. And Dire Rabbit definitely support third-party creators. I for a while was kind of hardcore purist on that, just because I didn't want to have to chase down everybody's weird fan creations. I'm starting to come around on that though.
You use their fan creations, Mac.
No, I get you. But yeah, so check out that Kickstarter, guys. There's a whole bunch of really cool stuff in there, and some of the people that are actually working in it is there's Mike Myler and Russ Morrissey. Russ Morrissey I'm more familiar with. Mike Myler I'm not. Kick Up High, giving the entire background of Trogdor. Fantastic, I love it. But Mike Morrissey has done some great stuff. He's on The biggest one I think is Judge Dredd and the Worlds of 2000 AD, a game that came out a while ago. But I'm pretty familiar with it. I've poked around with it a little bit. It's a really bleak, awful game. If it's Judge Dredd, but he knows what he's doing. So it's enough to get me interested in this book. So I don't know if you've taken time to poke around on the Kickstarter here, but there's rules for Cthulhu, which it just seems like a
Cthulhu game.
Yeah. I don't know how Cthulhu would work in a 5th edition, but sure, there's rules in there, and they have some pictures up of the spread, and it's some really nice stuff. It's all the prices are in pounds, but let's see, it's
It's like 1.3 pounds to the dollar right now, I think.
I have no idea. You're acting like I've looked at the news or been outside. But for about $50, you get a hardcover. Say again?
When you've had all that spare time?
Yeah, I've just been staring at my cats. It's great. And chasing down these things on Kickstarter. But yeah, so it's about $50, so about the cost of any of the core D&D books. You get this, gives you about 100 monsters in it. And again, you can get Dracula, you can get Hua Mulan, you can get rules for Lucifer. Sure, why not? Thing I'm most excited about, though, is, of course, Robin Hood, and immediately below him is Santa Claus. So all these are NPCs that you're going to be able to feed into your campaign. Check it out. I'm interested in it. I think it'll be pretty cool. And that is probably the most useful thing on the Kickstarter roundup. But to keep the roundup a-rolling, the next one is also semi-useful, but it's much more of like a interesting brag if you want to be that kind of person. We're like, oh yes, come over, and it would actually look really good right here on my shelf. What it is a entirely unnecessary. So it's there's no new rules in it, but they're calling it the Complete Illustrated Book of Illusion. It is all 37, 40, whatever it is, illusion spells in the core rulebook. I believe it might also have 33 illusion spells. Okay. So yeah, it has all 33 illusion spells compatible with 5th edition. It's 100 pages in length. And it is one page of just one spell description, and then opposite it is some really nice work of art or artwork. And so there's a lot of really cool stuff that can go on with this. They've done 4 others of this before also. I believe they've done necromancy, evocation, divination, and conjuration.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the day, Dragon Magazine had AD&D stats for Bugs Bunny. That sounds like Dragon Magazine. Yeah, that sounds a lot like that. That's like when people tell me what happened in like White Dwarf 4 before it became like purely Games Workshop. We're like, yeah, they had rules for Daffy Duck. He's like, all right, cool.
Well, Bugs Bunny's charisma and intelligence would certainly be high.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about his wisdom or.
Nah, he's got it.
Okay.
High dexterity, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Bugs
I
Bunny's
wonder
like
what his stat would be. Strength, maybe?
I don't know.
Can't be con, because he never dies.
Yeah, I don't know. People in the chat, let us know. What do you think Bugs Bunny's dump stat would be? Daffy Duck had infinite hit points. Yeah.
All the cartoon heroes have infinite hit points. It's how they never die.
Yeah. So they've done a bunch of they've done 4 of these so far, and they're all equally nice. But this one itself is just for the illusion. You can, however, add on and get sort of a compendium that has the other 4 books in it, and it's basically Compendium Volume 1, and then Compendium Volume 2 will presumably have the other 4 schools. So I think it's a really nice piece. I highly recommend check it out. It has some very, very nice art. It is definitely not a must-buy if you are trying to just look for rules. This is much more of a luxury purchase, of course. But if you have a coffee table that needs a kind of an interesting piece of work, or you have a lot of Zoom conferences and need to show off your bookshelf, that'd be a cool thing to have on the bookshelf. The cover itself looks sort of like a ritual, or the proposed cover looks like a ritual circle with some cascading geometric shapes and stuff. It's really cool. I'm probably going to pick up something. Not entirely sure which, but I'm probably going to buy into it because it's a nice tome. I like that kind of stuff.
Are there any of these books that you don't own, Mac? You have a lot of this stuff.
I'm all yeah I'm I'm single and don't have kids, so hey,
Gotta do it. Gotta do something with the money, huh?
hmm can't take it with you. Uh,
Very
yeah, treat yourself and etc. etc. Uh, but Anna, if they were doing a School of Magic, they have all of them in tomes. Which one would you buy? What's the School of Magic you'd be most inclined to pick up out of the rulebook, even if they haven't made it yet? Because I'm confident they're going to be making more.
well, probably the evocation one.
I think Evocation could be cool. What's your deal on that? Why are you excited about that one?
Because it's the magic. I mean, I actually haven't studied the magical races, or not races, classes in detail, but
Okay.
evocation is the sort of magic that you're supposed to be able to do on the fly.
Yeah, it's
Just
just throw fire around, throw ice around. Yeah.
so.
Evocation because fireball. All
Yes.
fine, man of my heart. Yeah, so check it out, guys. It's if you have a little bit extra gaming budget and you're waiting for Icewind Dale to drop, that might be your winner. Uh, Now, finally, in the Kickstarter roundup, something I'm excited about, because the way I'm trying to do this is something that's very useful, a bunch of new rules, something that's cool to have and kind of show it off. And then there's just something where if you see someone rolling this, or you see someone with this at like a game store, and you know where I'm going with this one, Anna. You see someone with this at a game store, you're going to say, holy cow, that's awesome. Where'd you get that? This one is a unfortunately poorly named project. It's just, it's Nat 21 D20 dice that go to 21 and dungeon tiles.
It just replaces the number 20 with the number 21.
Yes, that's exactly what it does. And I love it. It's, yeah, it's like, hey, natural 21. Me
But
thinks you're
Magic
cheating.
will let us get a 21 on our hits when we roll, if we roll a 21. So
Yeah,
I
I mean,
actually do.
if you bought your GM a dice like that and let them roll it, all right, maybe. But one of my favorite things about about picking up random obscure stuff from D&D is being able to show off your weird things at the table. Like I have my Dungeon Crawl Classics dice, which anybody who's played in my games can attest are ridiculous. It's got all the standard things you'd expect, but then it also has a D3, D5, D7, D12, or sorry, D14, D16, D24, and D30. So yeah, why not? Have a party. It is exactly what Spinal Tap would use to play. So it's really cool, and it's not cheap or it's not expensive. It's like $5 gets you a D20, $10 gets you a D21, $10 gets you two D21s. It's fun, it's wacky, it's cool. They also have something else going on with their where you can get like dungeon tiles. I'm more interested in the cool little dice, but if you need some fun dice, check it out. I think that pretty much does it for the Kickstarter roundup. Now,
Yep, you caught everything pretty well.
yeah, in the chat, let us know which one you're most excited about, if any, or if there's something out there that we missed, because Kickstarter still has a terrible user interface, and I'm certain I've missed some awesome stuff on Kickstarter. But we're going to try and.
You can quit anytime you want to, Mac.
I actually haven't backed Kickstarter before the Beowulf thing for like 3 years because I've gotten burned on some things. But it's books. How hard can it be? So yeah, gonna get that D21. Yeah, you're not gonna use it in my game though.
Well, we can use it. It's just a 21 will be worth
Yeah,
20.
use 20. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
you use it in Reed's games all you want. You're not using it in mine.
How are you going to know? It's not like you can see past my screen.
Mm.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Howdy, Color Switcher. So yeah, check those out. If we miss something, let us know. You can either let us know in the chat here, and we'll try and catch it up on the break, or throw it into our Discord channel. Lots of great options to get in touch with us when we're not here. So, back to slightly more relevant things to D&D. Now, did you get a chance to look at the Unearthed Arcana feats that came out about 2 weeks ago?
No, no.
We did a whole show on it. Like, come on, Anna.
Hey, I'm still going to work.
That's fair. So about 2 weeks ago, if you weren't paying attention, Wizards of the Coast released another Unearthed Arcana, this time with 16 feats in it. Some really cool stuff in there, stuff that I actually really like. is one of the feats is chef, that gives you a lot of flavor text, gives you proficiency with chef's tools. But then when you do a long rest or a short rest, you can make some food that can give some buffs and healing, additional healing to the party. That's great. That seems like a thing that a adventurer could take. I normally tend to avoid feats, but that one I think is really cool because it's a nice bit of flavor and does give a little bit of mechanical advantage. But it's not weird and game breaking. It's like I can all of a sudden do this thing.
The party was traveling from one spot to another, and they had to do their own cooking.
Yeah, and it's I believe generally assumed that you're cooking on the trail. You're just throwing everything into a pot and stewing it up, or you're eating trail rations and whatnot. Being able to actually cook something nice, like a nice warm meal, yeah, that's great on the trail. I've been out camping or out in the wilderness and like, hey, a nice meal really does kind of raise your spirits and make you feel better. So I'm glad that they're putting rules in for it. There's a bunch of other feats in there too that are basically multi-classing via feat. We see a lot of that stuff in the main rulebook, mainly with like wizard or warlock, where you get a warlock cantrip and a warlock spell, or a wizard cantrip and a wizard spell. This has some other stuff in there for all of that. But more importantly, the reason why we're talking about it again today is because this is a playtest document. So it is not all of these rules are going to make it into the final rulebook. They've probably playtested them in Wizards of the Coast HQ. And now they're like, all right, these are the 16 that we think the community should look at. And they push that out. And then a couple weeks later, they push out the survey. They're like, hey, what'd you guys think? How'd this do?
How long do they have these out before they decide to adopt something or not?
I do not know. It can be quite a while. Because the Wizards of the Coast, D&D doesn't release that many rulebooks every year. I think 2 or 3 is probably going to be expected. So
if they have question too quickly, people would just get fed up with trying to keep up with the rules.
Yeah. And most of the rulebooks that they release aren't necessarily rulebooks so much as campaign settings that have rule tweaks in them.
Okay.
Typically, it depends on how strong community feedback is. There we go. Perfect. Thank you so much, Reed. This survey is open until, I think, the end of the month, the 30th or the 31st. So if you have taken the time to dig into, the various Unearthed Arcana stuff that is in the most recent PDF out there, give Wizards your heads up. Let them know, hey, I like this thing. I didn't like this. I'm ambivalent about the rest of it. Because that kind of stuff is useful. Community feedback, community opinion, they do care about that. They want to know what the players think about these things because they live in an ivory tower and how they see the game isn't how we play the game. So that kind of feedback loop is really, really nice. Yeah, the Nat 20 creator is based in Virginia. They're based in Richmond, so hopefully we'll be able to get it pretty quick.
Are you going to have them on your show for an interview?
I have no idea who it is. It just says Richmond on their Kickstarter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
You
maybe.
Like them personally.
No, I have no idea who they are. I might. I know a lot of gamers down there, but so yeah, check out the if you haven't already looked at the Unearthed Arcana, please do check that out and consider giving the survey results to Wizards. Yeah, so that's that, and then the second to last piece of news is or I guess it is the last major category, is D&D Beyond updates. Everybody knows D&D Beyond is doing constant updates. You use it for keeping track of your character sheet, right, Anna?
Yeah.
Have you been using their digital dice roller at all?
No, because the few times I've tried it, there's a bit of a lag to the point where it's easier to just roll dice or go into our own Discord forum and use the bot channel to roll dice.
That is one of the feedbacks that they keep getting. Very rarely am I sitting around being like, hey, I need to roll dice this half a second. But I generally don't. I like using physical dice. That's my big jam. But I'm trying to be more into their digital stuff. But there's a lot of fun stuff coming out for D&D Beyond. One of them is actually a new digital dice set. If you're using the digital dice and you want to get some new skins on that, there's one they're calling the Blacksmith set.
Okay.
Where you buy, it's $8 and you get, I think, 8 sets of 8 different metal colored dice, and you can.
Yeah, I remember seeing that they were basically selling fancy digital dice.
Yeah, and they've done that a couple times. They have that. They have the primary colors or something like that, where they're all $8 and you get a huge slew of them, or you can buy $2 sets of dice and buy them single. Okay, I prefer the real dice. I see that a couple people do prefer real dice out there too, and by a couple I mean just Reed. So one dude.
I admit I trust digital dice to be more impartial than real dice.
Yeah, I mean they probably are more fair, but they could also not be. I don't know. I'm not a computer programmer.
I mean, Sweeter algorithms are pretty good, and a real dice, maybe sometimes they're chipped or they've worn on sides or.
Yeah, generally the fancier the dice that you buy, or the more
Yeah.
yeah, the more obscure or like weird or colorful dice that you buy, they can be unless you're buying exactly clear dice. Who wants all clear dice? I buy fancy dice. I have that bag back there is full of all sorts of weird opaque dice, and these aren't clear. Well, whatever. So there are some flaws with natural dice, or real dice, but whatever. Who cares?
I will grant you that dice are like the astrology of the role-playing game world, but
yeah. But they have new digital dice out there. We don't need to be harping on the pros and cons too much, but it's available. If you want to start customizing, I probably will give it a pass, but it's a thing. You can do it with a mineral spirits test. Yes, let my plastic dice melt. But other stuff that they're doing is the big one. Is they've actually, what is Reed going on? I have no idea anymore. So the big one that they've come out with is all of the Unearthed Arcana feats that they have. For the most part.
He probably means to check the impartiality of your physical dice.
Oh yeah. I tend to use. I've done a couple saltwater rolls, where you basically float them in a solution of salt water, so they get neutral buoyancy, and then you shake it and see how they roll out. And there's a bunch of different tests to be able to do that. But if you look at the back on topic, if you look at the link there is actually the D&D Beyond updates. It's just saying what they've updated recently. So the biggest thing is the Unearthed Arcana is for the most part in the rules, or in the digital rulebook. There are a couple bugs and problems in there, but those are listed in the document. One of them, I believe, was saying something along the lines of like it doesn't give you advantage, or it doesn't. Let me see if I can actually pull up the exact verbiage. Yeah, so the fighter initiate, they couldn't break it the right way, so you have to, as opposed to it being select the feat and then select another sub feat. They're just like, hey, we just made it 6 feet, so just choose one of those.
Okay.
And then there was unless I'm completely missing it. Oh, here we go. Eldritch Adept. So you're allowed to put in Eldritch Adept, but you're gonna have to do a little bit of bookkeeping on your own to allow you to figure out what's going on with that. Chef is the best one. Reed is absolutely right. I will probably take Chef on if I make a halfling character. But yeah, so that's their big D&D Beyond update is a couple quality of life things and continue to tweak and allowing for the Unearthed Arcana stuff. And then of course the new digital dice set that they have available. They're pretty. If you roll exclusively digital dice, that might be worth it for you. And then finally, and we're going to dig a little bit deeper into this in the second half once we actually do get Reed on, so he's not just screaming in the chat at us, is the D&D periodically every year, or D&D Beyond every year or so, releases their class distribution numbers for how many people are playing each class. This one isn't too shocking. The biggest, the most popular 3 classes right now are Fighter, Rogue, and Warlock. And I'll go ahead and drop that in the chat there. Boom, there we go. But otherwise, we're gonna actually get, when we have more voices on here, talk about what we think about that. Go into that a little bit more because they have it broken down by the actual class, and then of that class, they have the 3 most popular subclasses. So it is an interesting document. I recommend you guys check it out. It's a cool piece of art, I guess. And we'll talk about that on the other side of the break. And now, before we roll into the break in just a couple minutes, I do want to do, because we have a lot more people here, I want to plug Free RPG Day one more time. It's a big, yes, you did. It is a big deal, again, to be able to go out to, check out freerpgday.com to figure out what stores in your local area are participating on Saturday. And then from there, you can actually call them, make sure that they are in fact open and that things haven't changed, and then go out and support them. It's a hard time for everybody out there in the hobby right now, and the stores do have to keep paying their rent. They do have to keep getting stock on the shelves. Again, they're probably not going to be running anything, unfortunately, which is a shame. But this is the world we live in right now. So go out there, pick up a book or two.
Surely, you never know.
They might. Some of the, I don't know, maybe our Canada people. I don't know. But so there's a lot of stuff out there. So check that out, guys. See what in your local area is doing. And even go and pick up a pack of dice while you pick up your free thing. It'll go a while to keep the stores open. But with that word, we're going to go ahead and take a quick break, reset the screens, and get Reed on here so we can talk about some of the stuff that's happening on the stream and and then dig into this D&D Beyond class distribution just a little bit more. So we'll be back in about 5-10 minutes, and you guys don't go anywhere. We'll be back shortly. Bye.
See you in a bit.
Hey everybody, welcome back. I am still Mac. Anna is still here, but now we're joined by Reed down there in the corner somewhere. There we. I don't know, down there. It's hard. This is so hard.
Yeah, it's all right. It's all right. I have the same problem when I'm running it on the back end too.
So yeah, thank you for joining us, Reed, as opposed to just shouting at us in the chat. We appreciate you being in.
Oh no, I love shouting at you in chat too. It's great. I mean, it could be worse. I could be a virtual reality horror game, which appears right behind you and makes you scream like a little girl.
Well,
Not that I know anything about that.
I didn't say I screamed like a little girl. Yeah, okay. For anybody following along at home who's didn't hear the things I said in confidence.
No.
No, I have a virtual reality, just one of the cheaper headsets, and I decided to spend $10 and got a virtual reality horror game. Don't do that.
You screamed like a little boy.
Yeah, I like spawned up in like a dungeon or a castle or something. I'm just wandering around holding a lantern up, and at one point I walk past a witch hag thing that's clearly having a very bad day. Just really long black hair, sobbing in a corner. Turn my light off and just back out of the room because it's not my problem anymore. I'm great in relationships, guys. And then I'm walking through somewhere else, and I'm like, oh, hey, there's like legs and stuff on that chamber. That's a really creepy gargoyle, but anyway, gonna keep walking. Run into a dead end, hear a creepy piano or violin or something behind me. I'm like, something happened. Turn around, and the gargoyle's like there. I'm like, ah! And I screamed, I fell over, I turned off the headset. I went and had some coffee. It was...
To get the shakes down?
Yeah, it was less than great. So don't do that. It's very immersive, but no, I'm good to going back to just say, hey, what's happening in your fantasy world, guys?
Real world, Mac.
I think Mac, your fantasy world, which was very, very real for you, was unbelievably frightening, and I can relate. I could probably feel like I would do the same thing.
Yeah,
because those VR headsets are so amazing now. So.
Yeah, they're super immersive. Yeah. So it's very interesting to see that, and periodically having cats weaving in and out of my legs doesn't help.
That's gotta be creepy as can be.
Yeah. It's
Is it real or VR? I can't tell you.
just both. Just both. Yeah. Anyway, so welcome back, everybody. Let's get back on program. So
back
we have
brand.
Now that we have a whole gang here. There's something, there's a bunch of fun stuff coming up with the Games Tavern. We have this regular programming happening, but I've heard rumors that there's a rogue heist thing coming up. What do you guys know about that?
So we're still locking in the dates of the actual streams for that. It'll be on Saturdays probably, and we've invited some folks from 2 other streams besides ours to put together this heist. We found up and coming new dungeon master who we'll reveal later, and we have 2 of the people from Paradise RPG? Yeah, Paradise RPG. Shannon and Stefan, they're coming over, and it's an all rogue 3-shot. So a story told in 3 phases. A dungeon master who's highly motivated and energetic, and 4 of us playing rogues, including myself. I get to play for 3 games for a change. Where I'm not putting in a character that Mac is going to put through a dungeon where one of the rooms is named the Blender. So
I very rarely name my rooms.
The Blender. I'm just going to say that right there.
Yeah.
The Blender. But no, it'll be kind of fun, and I get to be a dastardly rogue.
Yeah, I think that'll be a really cool thing going on. So it is 3 shots, you're saying, or 3 individual chunks. Is this based on what is it, the Dragon Heist, or is this it's a full?
No, it's not Dragon Heist at all. To be honest, we only know some things that inspire it. We don't exactly know what we're in for.
Do you know your hook at least? Like why all of your people, like with the mysterious message you've received, or any of that?
I know that we're going to be the theme is we're going to have worked together before in character. That's all.
That's worthwhile. When
We're
doing that
gonna
kind of
be
thing.
stealing something.
Stealing something.
It's gonna be a big deal. Whatever it is, it's gonna be a big deal.
Okay.
But the thing is we've worked together before in character. I specifically asked, and that's what Dougal King Jaboo said.
Well, I mean, that makes
Well,
sense.
I believe your character is a twin, is it not?
Yes, but I meant besides me and Shannon. So Shannon and I are going to be playing twins. My character is going to be a thief, and hers is going to be an assassin.
Mm-hmm.
Except she's going to be cheerful because she's tired of play. She plays a very not cheerful character on the regular Paradise RPG stream, so she wants to switch it up a little bit.
That makes sense. So you mentioned that there's two streams, other streams that are involved, and Paradise RPG is one of them. What's the other stream?
If I say it, it might reveal the Dungeon Master.
You're great at advertising, Reed.
You know, we're going to mention him in another one of these.
Okay, yeah, we do want to get him on.
We got some time. We got a little bit of time. Production quality and everything else has to be at a certain standard. Yeah, I mean, do we really want to do the reveal yet?
I don't.
If you don't want to do any reveals on that and just cut my segment short here, cool. We can move on.
Yep, show's over. Yep. Thanks, guys.
Don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
Yeah. Hold on one second. I'm gonna.
Okay. No, we can hold on to this for later. We'll have you crash into something else. So it does sound like it's gonna be a really cool time. I'm looking forward to seeing some one shots that aren't being run by me. Just watching other people do those. That Tomb of Horrors, guys. That went far longer than I was expecting it to. I still feel bad about that. But yeah, so that seems like it's going to be really cool. How many players are actually going to be doing this one?
4 players.
4 rogues.
Yes.
Very nice. So you have I'm assuming you're going to be playing, your character Ren, right? The arcane trickster.
As a matter of fact, Ren will be making an appearance. It may or may not play into something you guys are already doing on the other shows. Who knows?
Shocked face.
Yeah. But it's one of those things where it has nothing to do with any of the other shows except that it might relate to them.
Yeah.
So it really, in terms of timeline, location, stuff like that, but not anything specific to what you guys are doing. So it certainly won't take away from it, and it's certainly not going to railroad anybody else or any other streams in any other direction.
Yeah, I've always pictured the characters in separate D&D campaigns that aren't directly tied to each other to be like James Bond movies, where it's like it's the same character, but the things that happen between the campaigns and the movies, nope, they're different things. Same guy going off on different adventures, or Sherlock Holmes, or any of those other things like that. Just it makes it way easier to make continuity work when you don't worry about continuity.
Reed, have you been working with the DM on the plot at all, or is this going to be as much a surprise to you when you walk in the door as it will be to me?
So it's not something I'm going to tell him how it needs to go, because that's kind of not the way that dungeon mastering should be. I can only express some things to inspire, because I also want to be surprised and delighted just as much as all the other players. So even though I'm a dungeon master and I really live for having more control over a story like that, the fun part about being a character is being in character. And discovering and trying to figure things out like everybody else. I already know how things are, and besides that, nothing we do on our shows is ever scripted at all. So we do our best to avoid that. We might have the standard player character conversations that every dungeon or player dungeon master conversations that we have, like, hey, tell me some more. On our own, we'll individually talk to different characters and say, hey, this is what's going on, but. Other than that, I don't know any more than any of the other players, and that's kind of exciting to me and scares the hell out of me at the same time. So,
You're used to being God now?
What's that?
You're used to being God now?
What do you mean used to now, mortal?
The DM's not a god.
Yeah. I am during play, but no. Look, it's in terms of this is I love heist RPG type scenario situations. That's one of the reasons I love to play rogues, is I can do that. Maybe for one of the few times that Rin gets to shine with his skills for a change, as opposed to being the plot device or background NPC that's helping run some of the other stuff.
We keep giving you invitations to come play, and you're just like, nah, I got things to do. So you don't get to complain.
Yeah. Things like, running other parts of the shows, doing research as well as work. It sucks, man. All this real world job stuff.
No, I totally get you. Before we lose it in the chat, R. Klein was asking, is every rogue a different archetype? So we have the arcane trickster from Ren. We have the thief from whomever Anna is playing. And then Shannon is playing the assassin, you said. Is number 4 playing a different one, a mastermind, or...
Another arcane trickster.
It is. So we have 2 arcane
tricksters. Much for surprises. It's another arcane trickster. Okay. However, one of the things we discussed is, when you watch like these amazing heist shows, like the inspiration is things like The French Connection, Ocean's 11,
Ocean's 12.
I even said the Muppet, the Great Muppet Caper.
Oh, that's
I even brought that up. I was like, even the Great Muppet Caper, and when I was talking with, I'm just gonna say it, Jacob. You may know him as Duval King Jabub, at Duval King Jabub on Twitter. He's on Duval and Dragons. He does great work for some of the guys at what's the name of it? Thread Raiders, and we couldn't get enough of him. He's fantastic as a dungeon master. He has a lot of energy to the table, and when he and I were just kicking around the initial threads, like, here's some of the inspiration we'd like to see, maybe that we'd all talked about for if we're going to be in a heist, what would you like it to be like, right? What kind of heroes? So we're trying to, from what I understand, he's introducing elements from that. The location will not be Waterdeep, from what I understand.
What? Oh.
Yeah.
It'll be, but it's definitely not Waterdeep.
Yeah. And it starts almost Mission Impossible style, from what I understand.
So everybody dies and one person saves the day?
No, it starts Mission Impossible style. It's still an ensemble show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But very, very much an intriguing situation. We're all there to make a heist and make a buck. What our reasons for our own, and you'll find out in the show.
Sure. Well, it does. You mentioned something when he said the Great Muppet Caper there. One of the things that I've always kind of, it's sort of been in the back of my mind, and I've never verbalized this before because it's a weird thing to say. But the Muppet movies are a fantastic pacing system and a tonal system for most D&D campaigns I've seen. They just work great. Everything keeps moving, but they have wacky side plots, and Gonzo's there too. So
yeah, if anyone can tell a good story, the Jim Henson team. Is some of the best out there, because it's not just a serious story, it's also a comic story at the same time.
Yeah, the wacky comedic sections don't get in the way, but they're there and everyone can have fun. Fun fact, I was looking, I would just rewatch the Muppet movie again for the 14th time this year because I'm leaving my house. And there was there's the scene where Animal becomes really big. That was a practical, That was a practical effect. They actually made like 100 and something foot tall animal, and actually had it burst out of a roof somewhere. It's like that was like a quarter of the show's budget, but it actually happened.
Sounds like something Jim Henson would do.
Yeah, it was great. Or if you've seen Avenue Q, there's the scene for like. Have you seen Animal Q or Avenue Q?
This is not safe for home.
No, it's fine. There's a part where the main character feels like he's having commitment issues because he's suddenly realized that he's in love with or becoming a boyfriend girlfriend with another character, and he starts having commitment fear, and then they have, and it's a blink and you miss it moment, but it was again a huge part of the budget where they had a giant version of the puppet, not a Muppet because they're not Jim Henson, but a giant version of the puppet that was his girlfriend, loom up over the set, and they're still wait, what? It's up there for 5 seconds, then they pull it back down. It's what the heck just happened here? So that's my side.
But it got the message through.
Yeah.
It got the message through. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's some of the stuff when we look at some of the story pacing that you'll see coming up, because you guys gave me some great feedback the other day on pacing for stories and stuff like that too, that I think we're going to implement. going forward with some of the stuff in terms of how we tell our Dungeons and Dragons, story as a group, to keep the action or the plot lines intriguing.
It is worthwhile to remember that running a table at a table versus running a table for a stream, they are two related but kind of separate skills.
Yeah. You can have a great table game that just is terrible for streaming, and you can have a great streaming game that's just terrible for tabletop.
Yeah, so we're trying to walk.
Well, actually, not usually. If it's good for streaming, chances are it's a good game, or it's a completely fake game, and that sucks. So
no one wants that. Right. But we have a good dialogue going back and forth between us.
Good for the stream and also still a real game.
Yeah. We have a good dialogue going between the players and you as the DM to make sure that we have we are towing that line between having fun, balancing fun, and making it streamable. And I think that it's that's why we talk afterwards and be like, hey, how'd this go? So I'm happy.
Yeah, I think the fact that everybody kind of does dig a little bit of improv in terms of that, and then we all like to make faces and say funny things, and some people play better foils and some people play better humorous people who are frustrated, and then there's me who plays everything, the sky, the trees, the mountains, and whatever else you tell me, and then I have to remember what was the name of that NPC again. You sons of... This guy was supposed to last 3 minutes, and you're now having an in-depth conversation about his life history. What are you doing?
The Boblin, the Goblin. And it's just like,
yeah.
Just tell us in advance which NPCs you want to flesh out, Reed. I'm sure we'd be happy to accommodate you.
Do the trick I do. If I'm like, hey, I want them to go to this town, I don't care what town they go to. The next town they go to is the one that uses the map and the the rules and the scenarios that I happen to have built for whatever next town is.
Yeah, I do plug in scenarios too, that get they still allow me the flexibility for some of that stuff. Yeah. So you guys pick your destination, I get to pick what happens.
I mean, when you're working with cities that already exist, if Reed thinks we're going to Triborn instead we go to Luskan.
Yeah, but you can still have the like the bounty
really hard to get.
Same.
Yeah, really hard to get the ship to land in Tribor, but we'll see what we can do.
We got it. Well, excellent. Now, is there anything else coming up on stream or anything else? Because we've been doing this for about 6 months now, haven't we?
Yeah, we're going to be hitting episode 20 for all the shows. I think in August we probably have a little to do about that.
August, maybe early September, depending, right? Because I think some shows have some breaks coming up.
Yeah, we do. I know the Velkin Weave has some breaks coming up, but we'll celebrate each of those milestones independently. We should see a resurgence of That Mini's Paint Show. With some things we're working on. I know some other people want to actually run that stream occasionally too, besides me, which sounds awesome, because the more the merrier. And let's see here, what else is coming up? I think we're looking, and I don't want to speak too soon, but we are canvassing for a possible additional set of content. So
yeah, that's I think I know the one you're talking about. I think that'll be.
There's actually two. Oh. There's another one that I haven't talked about, but I won't get into that. Okay. But there is a third show concept that we're looking at, and then there's another one that we're looking at. That,
so
you and I have talked about a little bit. So
we don't want to spoil anything out there because these are all still in the concept stage, but. I'm excited. I think that the second half of the year is going to be really interesting for the Games Tavern. See what we have coming up.
Absolutely. And if this is as good a time as any, I might as well just put it out there. If you are interested in being a person on some of our shows, there's two ways it can go. You can apply and come talk to us. Just reach out to our Twitter account at the Games Tavern. And just let us know that you're sincerely interested in why you think you should be on stream. Yeah. We're canvassing both for remote opportunities for those people who are not in the Washington, D.C., Northern Virginia, Southern Maryland area like we are. And then we're also looking for some people who are local as well. And we are highly encouraging people from diverse backgrounds and orientations to apply. So the more directions we have, the more our characters in our shows reflect the reality of life.
Yeah.
to see more of that too.
And you can also join us on our Discord channel.
Absolutely.
Server. I'm not sure why. Technology. The Discord doobly-doo thing.
The Discord doodly-doo.
I don't.
Yeah.
That is very technical, Mac.
I stopped understanding computers around the Enigma machine. So yeah, I just threw a link to the Discord channel there. Follow us there. If you can always reach out to us. You can DM either me, Reed, anybody that is, frequently enough. Can we nominate others? No. This is a trial by fire process.
Yeah, they kind of need to nominate themselves. Although you should encourage others to apply if you think that they are, someone that would be a great opportunity for them here.
Yeah, and we have a lot of, even if you don't end up joining up and being on a on camera position, we have a bunch of games that happen on just on the channel, or on what is it? A channel? Is it a server?
There's two or three games that happen on the server.
Yeah, I'm running one with Dire Rabbit, Vash, R. Klein, Mr. Smithwick, and Pond. That's been going well. I know that there's I believe Pond runs a Straturday, Curse of Strahd on
Straturday.
That sounds like that's going with pretty much the same cast, actually. Otherwise, yeah, there's
definitely some different people in that.
Yeah, there's a Doorbusters, I think is what they're calling it.
Yeah, Doorbusters is doing stuff on Saturday mornings, I think.
Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff going on our channel. And there's a whole bunch of weird, fun conversations to have, too. And frequently people just post pictures of their cats because that's a thing. Or
their pets in general.
Yeah,
you see all sorts of pets. Rabbits, puppies, and then art, all that other stuff too.
Deer?
Mac, as you're doing your stories right now, how are you pacing yours right now?
Well, that's a good, interesting question. I'm glad you asked.
Yeah.
So what I'm running, as I just happen to have it on hand, I'm running Into the Borderlands. It is.
Look at the thickness of that book.
It is fantastic. It's like 300 something pages. It's fantastic. Yep. Pick them up.
1,000 years from now, they're gonna dig that up and build a religion from it.
Oh, I certainly hope so.
Yeah.
But I'm running. It's an old school. I'm calling it the old school revival, the OSR campaign. If you're familiar with that movement, it's just taking gaming scenarios and rule styles from 40-ish years ago and bringing them up to modern day stuff. And DCC fits into that as sort of the golden child of it. But this is actually a 5th edition campaign. It's made by the same people who do DCC, Dungeon Crawl Classics. But it is for 5th edition. It is Goodman Games. They are also involved with free RPG day on Saturday, so you can get some DCC stuff there. But this one, the pacing is coming up mainly on it's been going shockingly well how I thought it would, circling along the points I was expecting it to. But basically I sit down and I'm like, all right, I know where I'm expecting them to go. I have a couple extra options for each juncture that I think they're going to get to this mission or this session. And my notes are not on me, but they're wacky. And basically have this world fleshed out that they can go or not go to. And I try to pace about 5 things that they do in a session. Whether it's they travel and they end up running into a subterranean praying mantis thing called an onkeg, or they spend a little bit of time staring at a riddle. It's I try to
a little bit of time staring at a riddle.
The riddles haven't been that wild. They did get sort of distracted by a thing. It hasn't been resolved yet, so I don't want to. They did let a cat out of a jar, and I think they're still chasing that thing down. I'm not sure.
The best thing you can ever do to a bunch of players is put them in a dead end with 3 knobs at the end of that dead end, and all the knobs do is spin and do nothing, but watch them try to make it do something for an hour.
Yeah, if I need to buy time, and they're coming up, they're coming up on something that if they do, if they turn left at the right junction, you'd be like, well, that's the rest of the session. I'm just gonna go over here. You guys, let me know when you need me. But it's a good group of people. They're all pretty experienced role players, so they know when to take the verbal cues and the beats. It's a really solid game. I'm quite excited to be playing with them from this side of the screen.
Outstanding.
pacing down the rabbit hole. Yeah, no, we're good. We don't need. Yeah, so just to clarify that, because what the hell, why not? The setting is that they're playing in is an old school. It's actually I think B1 and B2 are the module numbers. It is In Search of the Unknown and Into the Borderlands. The Into the Search of the Unknown is the level 1, hook them, get them going in, and they're basically delving into a fortress of two heroes of renown, Rogon the Fearless and Zeligar the Unknowable, I think are his names. And they're just two partners. They teamed up, fought barbarian hordes, and they built this fortress here. And now everyone is, apparently they're lovers and they're partners in that sense. And just despite introducing love interests for both, we're fine. We got this. It's gonna be good. So that's the fight I'm having on my team right now, and they're loving it. Yeah, partners. But yeah, it's fun. It's a lot of it's a good crew. Do a lot of really fun things. R plus Z equals yes.
Yeah.
Anyway,
any other questions in terms of how have you seen from a player perspective the stack in terms of players itself?
we mean like classes or just how?
Yeah, is it matching that D&D Beyond piece that you mentioned earlier?
Nice segue. I'm glad you're there. We have a it's a pretty healthy balance of a party. So we have I believe it's a half-orc fighter. We do have a rogue. We have a wizard, and we have a cleric. So we're missing the the barbarian. I'm sorry, we also have a warlock too. So we have fighter, rogue, and warlock, the top three from the. I got you. We have the top three choices by subclass by character type, which I think we'll move into in a second here. But we also don't have a barbarian. We don't have a bard, and I'm not sad about that.
Well, I mean, fighter is the guy who is the tank. Rogue picks locks, and warlock handles magic.
I did forget about you, Vosh. You're right. No, I couldn't forget about you. I'm like, that's 4. Who am I missing? And I was just going off this thing. So that's a great segue, though, to go ahead and move into what we're talking about with, which you mentioned earlier, where D&D Beyond released the information about their classes. These are all...
Oh, nice graphic.
Right?
Check that out.
I've given a presentation or two.
God, that is nice.
There are a couple
Thanks, D&D Beyond.
There are a couple caveats about this, about what we're looking at here. Explicitly, these are only single-class characters, so no multi-classing. They were saying something about a little bit over half of the characters on D&D Beyond are multi-class in some capacity. So this ignores all of those. They're saying that this has about 30 million characters on there, but then there is also the issue of a lot of the players don't have, I believe they're calling it premium content, so they're only using the basically available rules. So
but even so, when you look at the mix, it's a pretty even mix.
Yeah, once you get past fighter and rogue, everything else is hanging out between 6 and 8%.
Except for fighter and rogue. Yeah, you are right. Yeah.
So it's an interesting one. The premium content that you get on D&D Beyond doesn't include some of the specific subclasses. I don't believe it includes Artificer. I'm not sure about that. But if you're going to be playing and you don't want to spend any money, you just want to play the free ones, you get all of the core 12 classes, and I believe you get just one
typically
subclass.
One archetype.
Yeah.
So I believe that we'll see that the free subclasses are all the most popular subclasses.
You're still playing D&D and you're having a good time.
I'm actually kind of happy about that. For anybody who has ever met me, I like the old school stuff, and I'm very glad that they're not necessarily railroading players into playing the traditional archetypes, but that they're getting their feet wet on someone's first character is going to be their first rogue is going to be a thief. It's a standard rogue. That's what a rogue does. Anything else is a deviant off of that. Or your standard fighter is a fighter champion. That's what they do. It's a great way to get things going, give you sort of the flavor of what it is, and then from there you can make it however you want.
That I am playing these non-standard subtypes because you're letting me join your campaign so I get more options.
trying to figure out how that's a fault and not you should be thanking me for giving you so much opportunity to do awesome things differently.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
and this isn't a
Yeah.
this isn't me saying you're wrong if you don't use the standard one. That's just how I recommend people start the game. It's like, hey, pick the traditional vanilla one, what you think of as a thief rogue. That's a rogue. Hey, go and do that. It just with new players, I find that
Yeah.
that's a easier way to get people. There's less thinking involved with getting them to understand all the intricacies of the rules and this new world that they've put in that isn't just the tropes.
I would disagree. I mean, Thief is just different from Assassin. It's not really more or less complex.
It's not that it's less complex, but lore-wise, if the standard of rogue, archetypically, with you look in public or look in popular media, the rogue is the guy walking around cutting purses, maybe throats, but picking locks, stealing things. It's a thief.
Skill monkey. Yeah.
You know,
It's about subtlety.
And I'm a big fan of reducing the amount of mental gymnastics you need to do to get a player into the game. So if you go with a paladin, okay, the Oath of Vengeance and the Oath of Ancients are useful, but the Oath of Devotion is you're devoted to a god, and that's where you get your powers from. I believe. I need to relook at those.
Which
rules.
was the original, paladin
Yeah.
from the old school days. Yeah. But that, I like that they've expanded the definitions and made it, fit other, fantasy tropes per se of what might fit the idea of a paladin better than in terms of that flavoring than in anything else.
Yeah, there's a lot of more things you can do with it, but for getting someone just first steps, make it simple. Have a party. This is the way that and again, this is my mindset on how I look at that. Try to get people just entering and as simple as possible. See if you like the game, and then start doing the cool, complicated stuff.
Yeah.
Well, what would you recommend as the absolute easiest class and subclass to
Fighter.
get in?
Fighter champion.
Fighter.
Your first game in, unless you have a really strong opinion one way or the other, be a fighter. That gets you in, you learn
Fighter
combat.
champion. Yeah.
I would highly recommend people don't be a wizard for their first time playing. Don't be a druid. Don't be a caster. There's a lot of extra rules you need to learn about on that.
But if you really want to, you can.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Find your place. Yeah.
It's the same reason why I recommend new DMs run a published adventure, because it reduces so much work that the DM needs to do. It's like, hey, you don't need to build a world; it's already here. You don't need to build a wacky plot or a complicated heist or whatever. It's already here. Grab this, learn all the other things, and then learn the planning. But we're kind of off on nowhere here. Back to the thing we're talking about with the various subclasses by type and all that. Is there anything on here, Anna, that shocks you about most popular or least popular?
It actually does surprise me that for the most part the various classes are so evenly distributed.
Yeah, that's.
Fighter and Rogue, they've got a bit of a leaning to them, but for the most part, it's most of the classes hover steady between 6 and 8%.
Well, the rogue is the only one that is the skill monkey for the most part. I mean, bards can do it, but the rogue class is the one that is all about those skills, and they do things, certain set of skills better than any other class can, and they're unique to that end.
Yeah.
Several different of those classes come from the melee class. The paladin, the fighter, the barbarian, even the ranger. Those are all your melee classes. The cleric and druid are your divine classes. The sorcerer, warlock, and wizard are your arcane, and the monk is also rather unusual.
The druid is a divine class?
The cleric and the druid are divine magic.
Why is the druid divine?
Because it is. That's where they had to fit it.
Mother Nature, or whatever it is that passes forward in someone else's homebrew world.
I was kind of surprised that that wizard or one of the core casters wasn't going to be a more popular choice. Because if you want to do melee, you do fighter. If you want to be a rogue, you go rogue. If you want to do a caster, you go wizard or warlock. I was kind of expecting one of those to have a higher, so that the three major archetypes are going to be fit in there. But it happens. That kind of takes me by surprise.
The bard, is a rather unique situation because they can be very skilled at everything, but not as masterful as some.
Yeah, they're a hybrid.
But even as they go up in levels, they're pretty useful. The monk is absolutely a combination melee and skills too. But depending on how you set it up, it can fit all sorts of fantasy tropes. It's pretty cool that way.
Yeah, I'm really happy with with how some of that's playing out on there. Draconic Bloodline for Sorcerer. Yeah, that's cool. That's always been what I pictured of a sorcerer, so I'm glad. Yeah.
I think people like the Draconic Bloodline because it's a little more stable. Because the wild magic, it forces some situations where it's like, why would anyone do this? What do you mean? I just turned blue, and for the right person, that is a great thing. They love that chaos that it interjects into the game. But for some people, not their thing, and so you got to be a rather unique person to enjoy that kind of play in some respects too. So,
yeah, I was in.
Into the game is always a fun way to spice it up.
Huh?
Deliberately picking a character that introduces obstacles into the game through some inherent aspect of its existence is always a fun way to spice it up.
Yeah, or a fun way to take a lot of time away. It just depends on what it is. If you can make it work, great. If it blows up half the party, which they did in the old school days, not so much. Although these days they've tamed it down considerably.
Yeah, now it's a lot of flavor text.
Yeah,
One of the
which I like.
The last LARP I was in actually had a wild magic class. I think they called it Wild Mage, and it had that same kind of like randomness thing where if something went wrong or whatever, you had to pull out a little pre-written packet, open it up, and be like, "Oh, hey, everybody around me is now petrified. Cool, that happened." Or other random, odd effects like that. So it was interesting, but it was also super annoying because like, all right, well, I wanted to go get some food, and now I have to sit on this bench for the next hour. So
and now I'm petrified. I just have to stand here like a rock. Thanks. Yeah.
And then they unpetrify and go get their food.
Yeah, that's not how that works, unfortunately.
Always keep snacks on you at all times. Those extra pouches, they're there for a reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh no, I have a fantastic bandolier of just pouches and stuff. I played a witch hunter at one point, so I have steaks and all that other nonsense.
I just keep beef jerky in my pouches.
That's fair.
Okay.
Notice how Oath of the Ancients is on that Paladin list. Yes, Oath of the Ancients is on that Paladin list. It's the third most popular. So we were talking about, and this was in the show notes while we were talking before the show actually went live. Was speaking with Josh about some of the problems with this data. Largely, I think one of the big skewing points is that because it's only a select number of subclasses are available for free players, it will, people are it'll weight those subclasses a little bit more than you would expect to happen organically. That said, this is still the data of these are the classes people are playing, so it's not too bad. Still worth talking about.
Yeah, as long as you understand the data, and we're all a bunch of data nerds over here, pretty much within our group anyhow. So we're all going to pick data apart like crazy. But even so, when you see the overall class breakdowns, it's really, you'll see the impacts are more noticeable when you start getting into the archetypes. But when you look at the general class breakdown, people are still playing these general classes.
Yeah, and that was kind of my point.
They're using the free only content or the play content that adds to this, the options from the rule books that you own as well. And what I see is a bunch of people playing D&D, one, and two, what I see is the rules are working, they're balanced, and you see a lot of people playing a roughly even spread of characters because it's entertaining, it's intriguing, and you see how it balances a party neatly. So
yeah, I'm very happy about that.
The numbers are so balanced is good evidence that the characters, the various class types, advantages and disadvantages blend well with each other, and they each have their strengths and weaknesses.
And they appeal across a wide subset.
It could have nothing to do with the rule mechanics and just be this is the thing I want to play. Like if I want to play a wizard, I'm always going to do a wizard. I don't care if the rules are good or not. Okay, you're going to play a wizard because that's an interesting thing. Or I want to play a bard. It's my favorite way to annoy the rest of the table. Play a bard.
And then what I also see on those is you see the mix also reflects that it's not just about what's the most important class, because there really isn't one. What it is about is that there's a broad appeal to a variety of people who love to play D&D, and they get to play a whole variety of things at a relatively even pace. When you only have from the highest to the lowest percentage, a 3% margin of difference, it's not too bad. It's not too bad.
Yeah, it's. I think it's. You would expect more fighters because that's a solid beginner class, and it's always you can never have enough people with fighting ability. Rogue is kind of its own cool thing. Everything else, yeah, they all have their own job. So I am glad to see that, and they all have their own flavor too. So I'm glad that to see that it is actually kind of well spread out. Let's see what's happening in the chat. There seems to be a lot of random stuff happening. All right, we're talking about a bandolier of snacks. Talking about Arcline's paladin. Okay.
The newest magic item. Adgern's bandolier of snacks.
Yeah.
It'll go very well with yeah.
I think that'd be Bope's bandolier of snacks, actually.
You should have had one available at that magic shop we stopped in last session, Reed. Adgern, and we just all have free snacks and beer whenever we wanted.
Nah.
That would have been too much of a good thing.
It would have been a little crank handle that would get really hot, and then it would make popcorn start popping out, and then on accident it might set somebody on fire. It's just a bad idea.
Yeah, that sounds like a poor idea.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that more or less covers most of what we had planned, unless either of you two have probably get rid of this off the screen. Unless either of you two, nope, wrong one.
Pro streamer.
So hard. There we go. There we go. Okay. I just erased everything and it was just our faces floating in the middle of space. But everybody out there in the chat, let us know what things on here actually that we discussed today you thought were worthwhile to talk about. Again, Free RPG Day is coming up this weekend, this Saturday. Please check out freerpgday.com. See what local stores in your area are participating, and then call them to make sure they are in fact participating. Unfortunately, no one. I highly doubt at least stores in our area are going to be running anything. But you can still swing by, pick up some free stuff, and buy a book or two yourself. So there's a
and don't forget to support your local store, your
Yeah.
favorite local area game store. Very important.
Yeah, there's a couple. I'm really hoping that a shipment I've been waiting for actually the fourth one in this series is coming. It's supposed to be there sometime 2 weeks ago, and it wasn't there. So I'm hoping it'll be here by Saturday, so I can pick that up and some other stuff. But it's worthwhile. If you don't support these shops, you're gonna have to buy everything online, and no one wants that. But let us know if there's things in there that you liked, if you things in the stories we missed, or any of the subclasses that you were surprised by. In the meantime, we'll keep bantering.
Are you guys picking up any new miniatures anytime soon?
Yeah.
What you looking at?
Well,
because Corey just finished painting up the Falling Star ship.
Oh, it's so nice. That ship is fantastic.
Yeah, I'm impressed, and he did a great job on it. It's on our Discord, by the way. He just posted a bunch of stuff on that. But what are you guys picking up? Anything else? Anything else pick up your fancy? Because I think you're looking at those. Was it snow or those polar owlbears?
Oh yeah, but those aren't coming until September. That's
September. Okay.
Unfortunately, this weekend the new 40K stuff is dropping, so I'm gonna hit the store, pick up the free RPG stuff, and then go and blow the rest of my paycheck on Games Workshop. So if anybody wants to pay my rent this month,
it's gonna be great.
Oh, it's gonna be fun, but I was planning on eating this month.
Have you thought about any of the other miniatures that already exist that you're looking at? Because I'm looking at some giants.
Yeah, I've unfortunately there's not. I don't see a need for tabletop miniatures, at least in the games I'm going to be running anytime soon. We're probably going to be digital on that for a while. But there is a homebrew campaign that I was running months ago that we had to put on hiatus. Might pick up some more stuff to try and fill that out. Unfortunately, some of those people watch this, so I can't do too many things, or too many spoilers. But I'm looking for some cool vampire miniatures. A couple fun things like that, and things that'll fit into it.
Some really cool vampire hunters now from WizKids that I've.
Yeah. Oh, I have them. Oh yeah. The party may or may not have already met them. Who knows?
Ooh.
Right, yeah. I don't even remember what happened in the last session, so it's whatever. But yeah, so that's the kind of stuff I'm looking at. I don't think there's any the WizKid release that I'm looking forward to. Really, is the Icewind Dale. I think it's going to be really cool.
Yeah, the new Frost Giants that are actually coming out with that. I want to add it to the collection as well.
Oh yeah.
To the already existing Frost Giants that we have available. So that'll be nice.
Now the Frost Giants you have, are those the Paizo ones or the D&D ones?
Yeah, the D&D ones.
Mind you, they look almost identical. So they're
yeah.
It's like, it's almost
Made
like
by
the
the
same
same
company
guys.
made these. Yeah. I still remember the last campaign I was in before I came down here. We were doing Reign of Winter for Pathfinder, and our GM drops. It's like, hey, we exit a hut. Oh no, there's a frost giant. He's like, oh, did I say a frost giant? And then pulls out like a 55-gallon tub and starts dropping like 8 of the damn things. We're like, oh, back in the hut.
Josh, who plays Quentin Stargazer, has quite the assortment of giants that you never want to face in one go if you can help it.
Well, he was saying he's run Storm King's Thunder once or twice, hasn't
he? Yeah, and I had him as a DM for a while, and let me tell you, when he wants giants there, he can put giants down on the table and make magic happen.
How about you, Anna?
I was surprised one day when all these giants are like, wait a minute, what's all showing up at this table? I was in panic mode. Yeah.
The first few times I played with you, Reed, I was quite surprised that you had like tiles to put down to represent the various scenes and the little minis to put down for our figures, and I just was not expecting that. And the music, yeah.
Oh right, yeah. You were using tabletop audio for that, weren't you?
Yeah. Well, I was using a lot of different things at that time. We were experimenting with options. Tabletop audio won the day.
Yeah, it's.
Is that when you talking about when we played over at Crossroads?
Yeah.
Yeah, man, those are good times. Anna, you were lucky because you were learning to play D&D at that time, and like you were getting spoiled because like there's so many bad ways to play. We're throwing out all the stops to make it a lot of fun, and get you basically exposed to every aspect that we could have done in the Dragons at the time. I think it's kind of funny.
Well, it's because you were prepping me to come on the WMD stream, right? It was your master plan all along, your dastardly.
Honestly, when that stuff was happening, I wasn't even thinking about that. And then, like, as we continued to play and have a great time, I just like,
No, I'm sorry.
Do this.
I'm sure it was all just part of your master plot.
Yeah, I'm not that far-sighted.
I'm teasing.
Secretly, it was Mac. When we showed up at the Crossroads one day to do a photo shoot over there, and he popped out with this robe that had me almost falling over. I was like, this is the guy.
It wasn't a robe, but that's just my winter coat.
Whatever that was amazing. It was amazing.
Super
and I loved it. It did look comfortable.
Yeah.
And it was like 30 below, and you're wearing this thing that looks like a bathrobe. Yeah. But it was amazing. It was amazing. That's all I can say. Hey, I do want to... I want to get one of those, and I'm going to walk around just so we can stand side by side in one of those, man.
Like, just get yourself a Hudson Bay blanket, and I'll make it for you.
Dude, I will... Let's talk. We'll set
for
that
what
up.
it's worth, Hudson Bay blankets are like $800 blankets. So
I don't care.
Done.
I'll do that for a prop and a hilarity moment. Yeah, sure.
Speaking of other projects going on, you doing anything there, Anna? Anything fun coming up for the summer?
I'm just working on a piece of costume wear. Nothing major.
Okay, fun. You get any good use for that, or just dusting off the sewing machine and getting your skills?
That sewing machine is behind her.
Yeah.
What's that behind you?
My sewing machine.
What are you doing with that?
I put a picture up on the forum. I'm making a pair of pants.
Lederhosen.
Lederhosen. Yeah. Yeah. That'll be amazing.
I keep my sewing machine.
Warlock's tiles.
Oh, right there, actually.
Hey, Yanzam, can you tell us, Yanzam in chat, can you tell us more about these Warlock's tiles and what you're talking about?
Those sound really good. Let's see if I can actually...
Richard, that's not my DM screen that says that. It's my my binder with all the story in it. My DM screen typically has all those nifty charts that tells me the 8 ways to make a player die.
Yeah. So anyway. We were the heist in Coastplay, right, Reed?
Well, that did get brought up that we might wear costumes on that. I will be sufficiently, what's the word I'm looking for? Pretentious.
So
Yes. Why do you talk like that? Are you a noble? No, I'm pretentious. I mean, that's basically how it works.
the answer I would give for running character.
Oh, yeah. They're like locking tiles. Yeah, war lock tiles. I see.
Ah.
Yeah, they're kind of
Ah.
let's just go to buy WizKids just to see what. So they look like a plastic. You're familiar with like Dwarven Forge, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They look like a plastic price point for that kind of thing. Let's see. This is their link to their shop. It actually looks pretty interesting. I'm browsing through this now. Yeah, they have summoning circles, tiles, stairs. I think the big gimmick or draw here is that there's like locking clips, so you can actually connect them.
Mhm.
And when your table gets knocked over because Greg had to get another bag of Cheetos or whatever, he's not going to knock everything over, so you don't.
That's
lose your
because
deck.
he didn't have the bandolier of snacks.
Yeah, these actually
Very
don't.
important. Bandolier of snacks keeps you from having a D&D party foul and ruining the table.
Yeah, this is interesting. Yeah, it's
As we
looks pretty sizable. They're not wildly inexpensive. It looks like the tiles, town and village set's about $100, but it looks like it makes a couple buildings. Unfortunately, the pictures are teeny tiny. But yeah, I might actually look at these when I can start hosting again because I like having all
I
of
love
that.
scenery.
Yeah, actually, because while the dungeon tiles reincarnated are fantastic, I do like having 3-dimensional scenery. Just
Oh yeah.
it brings it up. Plus, then I can use it in wargaming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think you and I will be having some fun there. Because it's a lot more fun to remember to pillage before you burn when you actually have something 3-dimensional to pillage and
True.
then burn. We could play like Iron Man rules and actually set fire to scenery that we set fire to. So
Oh,
the
yeah, I
stakes
did
are
a,
real. You better defend that building or I'm actually going to set it on fire.
I was at Cold Wars.
By those rules, he already sets things on fire.
No, we're talking. No, this is
talking
Iron Man
about real
rules
life.
are. Yeah, I was at Cold Wars a couple years ago, and they had a BattleTech Iron Man going, where everybody had to bring one painted miniature and
That
a
would be
method of
destroyed.
destruction.
Yeah.
So,
in Iron Man rules, when you lose the miniature, someone hammers it to pieces.
No.
Very nice.
This one was one method of destruction. So there were quite a few people with like hammers. There was one or two guys with like a blowtorch. They had to go out into the parking lot. Somebody had a weird like can crusher thing with like a cinder block on a rope, and it was all levers and had to come in on like a hand truck, and you put your thing there and it just slowly crushed. It was fantastic. But yeah, Iron Man rules are great.
We had a bad dice destruction program at the game shop that I used to have, so that was kind of fun. We took dice out the back and blowtorch.
I have a couple of dice that probably deserve that.
We can film it. That's good content. Let's do that.
All right.
Dice destruction. Don't do this at home, kids, and make sure to wear your fume hood. Yeah.
You don't wear a fume hood, Reed. Come on.
If you rent more than twice, it just makes sense to buy.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look at these. These warlock tiles are. Curse you, Yanzam. Curse you.
There's a reason we love having him around. Yanzam, we're a big fan of yours, by the way. Keep being awesome.
Oh yeah. The reversible. Yeah. Hey, what do you know? Damn it. All right. Well, I guess go.
Well, we're just gonna have to do a show on that. I think that's a good hour and a half's worth of content there, Mac.
Yeah. Well,
we're gonna paint one of these up, and Mac is just gonna gush about it for an hour
pre-painted.
straight.
They are pre-painted.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I can't do it.
For just getting something on the table, as much as I dislike painting terrain, yeah, I'll take pre-painted terrain. Throw a wash on it.
You can always paint it some more.
Yeah, you can. But I'd rather be spending my painting time on miniatures than actually going with wasting
scenery
time painting scenery.
Is really not hard to paint when you know what you're doing.
Oh, it's not. It just takes some time when you're painting a whole table.
I'll show you some techniques.
No, I've painted a whole bunch. I'd much rather not paint scenery.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's
Yeah.
fair. That's
Yeah,
fair.
if,
Yeah,
if I'm
I was
painting,
always
I'll
the
paint
scenery guy.
miniatures.
Yeah,
But for this
because if
price
I didn't
point,
paint it,
though,
nobody would.
like the one I'm looking at is it's $100. It looks like it covers. So it's 24 2x2 inch tiles, and then a whole bunch of walls and pillars and other stuff like that. Yeah, that'll make some nice sizes. For $100 to get a modular building that's already painted, that's hard to beat. All right,
True
but
story.
we're clearly at the rambling stage here. I don't think there's anything else more random nonsense about the Bandolier of Snacks. No, I think we're no hanging. No
Remember,
hanging
if you have
threads
questions, to type question in all caps so that we can identify your questions quickly
there. That's true.
and then ask away.
But otherwise, I think it's unless there's anything else from the chat or from my wonderful co-hosts here. I think we're getting ready to go ahead and get rolling. Call it a night and get back to the painting desk. At least for me.
Okay.
Any parting words there, Anna?
No, I think just keep on having fun, guys.
That's a good one. Reed, anything from you?
Stay awesome, everyone. We'll see you on our shows in chat and on Discord. I can't wait to meet some of the new folks. And remember, we are canvassing for some new talent. Especially excited. I mean, we'll look at anyone, and but we're particularly interested in people from diverse backgrounds and that can add a different perspective to some of our shows. We're looking for both players in remote play situations, as well as people in the Washington, D.C., Northern Virginia area. Come join us on future games. Again, very excited to put forth some new concepts, and we are definitely taking interviews and moving them forward. So
Yeah.
talk soon.
And we also, for the rest of this week, tomorrow is the Belkin Weave, starting at 7 again. It was an interesting time. I think they're still at the Fey Market and debating whether or not to go back to the Fey Market. There's a lot of.
No,
fun
I think
things
they just finished it.
Oh, they did finish
Didn't
the
they just
Fey
step out?
Market.
Yeah. And now they've just gotten out of a certain situation, and now they're now figuring out the next phase of their plot line,
Grand.
where they're headed to next. Very confused about the age of certain people that were.
Oh no,
in
they're saying Mr. Smithwick's saying they're still at the. See, I
Oh, they
watch
are.
an episode. You can't question me on this, Reed. I'm actually paying attention.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what's going to happen there. Fey Market's very interesting. And then
Destruction is on Thursday.
Yep, Whiskey Magic and Destruction, where we're continuing to hunt down lost secret things that may or may not exist. I think we have to go kill something in a mine for a bunch of dwarves, and they'll give us maps to secret towns or something like that.
Yes.
That'd be great.
Yeah, don't bet that it's a map.
That's what they said, damn it.
I don't think they said anything about a map.
They said something that will help you.
It's going to be a can opener. It's like, oh. No,
Probably.
I can eat my beans. All right.
Maybe
Well,
they're going to have the rest of the party fire extinguishers for you.
that will be helpful. And then again, next week, Tuesdays is us again. I believe we have. We're still hammering out exactly what we want to go on there, but I think it should be an interesting chat to talk about how to manage your time when you're just far too busy with all your hobby. So I think that'll be.
When you're running multiple games or something like that?
We have people that are running too many games and playing in too many games. So.
Too many? Is there really such a thing?
Yeah, maybe. Probably not.
Yeah. All right.
But yeah, so thank you everybody for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow night, 7 p.m. for the Velkin Weave. Same bat time, same bat channel.
See you, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye.